down on one knee at the end.
Yeah, that's his area, isn't it?
But it has only got to nip a bit.
Yeah.
Three slips and a gully waiting for the edge. 23 for 2. Hope to 7. Broad from the Jimmy Anderson end of the ground, the far end from us, running towards us, and Hope and bowls. Hope plays slightly away from his body. They're fiddling it down into the gully backward point region. Burns goes to his right to pick up.
Do you reckon, you see Stewart now walking back to the Jimmy Anderson end? As he's walking back, do you reckon he glances up at that little sign saying Jimmy Anderson and has a little chuckle? Has he got an end, Stewart?
No, I don't think so.
No.
Well, he moved from Leicester to Nottingham, didn't he? I suppose Jimmy played all his cricket for Lancashire.
Yeah.
All the county cricket he played was for Lancashire.
Yeah.
Broad goes in now and bowls to... Oh, he's bowled him! He's got through with a grubber. Big problems for West Indies. Very hard to play that one, wow. Shea Hope.
Yeah, good luck.
And Broad has got his second wicket. Hope has gone for 7. And West Indies in tatters at 23 for 3 before lunch on this final day. And a disconsolate Hope walks off.
Oh, it's a beauty.
Hit the top of off stump, actually. The way he played it just suggested it seemed to keep a bit low.
Yeah, it's stuffed. As you say, that they're seeing snakes in this pitch, which are there a bit, but that one didn't necessarily keep low at all. As you say, it jagged back though, and got him all ends up, and was a little bit late on it as well by the looks of it. He just sort of tried to get the bat on it. Perhaps perhaps could have tried to be forward just to sort of negate that little bit of nip, but when you're back and you're caught on that crease and it does you for length and pace and sideways movement, it's a beauty. Top of off stump, that's what you're after.
Yeah, it was an odd one the way Hope played it, wasn't it? The way he played it, it must have kept very low.
Well, when the odd one has got low, it goes through the dressing room, like wildfire, and even though the batsmen sort of don't want to sort of acknowledge it, we know what we're doing, we know what we're doing, in the back of their mind they know that the odd one's going to do something, and it just unsteadies you. Great start for England.
Yeah,
it's exactly, the morning has gone exactly. If you could have written a letter to yourself last night of what you want to happen, Joe Root, it's happened for him.
11 overs, 92 runs this morning.
Yeah.
The loss of 1 wicket. That was a run out.
Yeah, that was
Stokes making 78. West Indies with the field set back and Stokes thrashing it, and then England come out and bowled. Broad's picked up 2. And Woakes 1, which takes him to 99 Test wickets.
It's a great pill, that.
It nipped back on him, didn't it? Yeah, the nip back.
Yeah. It is doing it a little bit. It is doing it, and perhaps that is to say that heavy roller's just worn off now. I don't remember it seeming so much early on. Perhaps it's the dryness. They say it's really got dry now, and it's just bursting that surface. But that's appreciable sideways movement.
Roston Chase in at number 5.
He's played well this series, hasn't he? He's looked. I was talking to Carlos. Got a big heart. He said he'll get stuck in.
Good game to save now for West Indies from 23 for 3, with the pitch doing a bit, and England with lots of bowling options and those runs in the bank.
Good luck. Yeah, why not? Good idea. If it's nipping around, I've just seen Joe
short
Root.
leg.
Yeah, why not? Because if you're going to be trying to get forward, or even if you're hanging back in your crease, if it nips back, you can get inside edges onto pads and things. Yeah, I know. They say that the runs are immaterial now.
We're seeing it over and over again on the television monitors. That dismissal. Not for a batsman, anyway. For a bowler, it's a lovely sight. Here's Broad going in to bowl. Short.
Hello.
Chase ducks underneath it.
On park.
So 2 batsmen in on naught with 6 minutes to go until lunch. Yeah, you can watch that on the BBC Sport website very soon if you want to have a look at it as well. Highlights tonight at 7 o'clock if you want to watch the truncated version of the whole day. But lots of clips for you to watch there. The main bits of the day, and England taking 3 wickets, and Stokes has clubbed a few. How many 6s did he hit in the end? And was it 3?
3. Yes. 4 4s.
Yeah. Exciting, wasn't it?
There's a lot of running for him as well.
He likes it though.
Yeah.
You know, people like yourself and Ben Stokes, they like it when they go
It's like a
running.
panther, isn't
Yeah,
it?
they like running. It doesn't tire them. It makes them feel happy.
This is Wokes looking for his 100th Test wicket. Bowls outside the off stump, and Shamar Brooks allows it to go by.
Good shape, good shape. Away swing, just short of a length, trying to sort of lure you into that back foot punch outside off stump. Left alone well. You kind of get the feeling as a batting side that one's got your name on it, don't you? But it's still going to be done.
Yeah, that's the worry, isn't it, on the final day pitch, when you've seen what's happened so far.
Yeah.
Wokes bowls, forward goes Brooks, straight ball, homing in on that pad. Brooks got the bat down in time, played it into the onside, and there's no run. 23 for 3 West Indies. Brathwaite out for 12, Campbell for 4, Hope for 7, and Hope's poor recent run continues. It's been a real struggle for him of late. 25 in the first innings, 7 in the second. Wokes bowls down the leg side, turned away nicely by Brooks, down to fine leg, down towards the hotel. Sibley in the distance there. Relegation for him. Has been fielding in the slip cordon. With Root coming back in the side. It's Root at first slip, Stokes at second, and Burns in the gully. Best there at backward point. Crawley at cover. Curran at mid-off, is it? Yeah. And by a process of elimination, Broad at mid-on, Pope at mid-wicket.
Well, if England go on and win this game, which they're looking like they could well do, the toss is going to be interested on the third one.
Wokes bowls to Chase, slides one past the outside edge as Chase pushed at it. The pitch we're going to use on Friday is 2 to the left.
You can already see it drying out a bit. That was emerald green, wasn't it, when we first turned up?
Well, we might see West Indies play another spinner possibly, or their main spinner. I mean, Chase is he's a
Decent.
batting, batting all-rounder. Yeah. 572 in the first innings. Wokes bowls full, blocked by Chase into the offside towards point.
Yeah, the toss will be crucial. When does it start?
Friday.
Friday, yeah. Toss will be crucial on Friday.
Well, we've seen 2.
Reverse tosses, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, I suppose when England batted, didn't they? When you felt it was a sort of put-in conditions, wasn't it? And same with Holder the other day. It felt like a good toss to lose.
Yeah, it did.
Didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
Wokes bowls played away by Chasing to the onside towards Broad at mid-on. There's no run. It's the end of Wokes is over. 5 overs, 1 for 8. Still looking for that 100th Test wicket. And we've probably got time for one more over before lunch. Normally it's time for a spinner to bowl, but not the way things are going at the moment. Not with Broad and Wokes holding sway. And Broad, he picked up 2 wickets and got one past Hope's defences in the last over.
No need. On a roll, Stuart Broad, and he does inspire, doesn't he? You know, yesterday there was that period of play when things went a bit flat and the ball got old, and then really dragged England back into the Test match. We were all sitting here yesterday going, "Oh crikey, this could be a bit of a boring draw," but he really did turn it around.
Well, the new ball was taken yesterday. The score was 235 for 4.
There you go.
Well, it looks as if West Indies were heading for
Cruising.
350, something like that minimum.
Yeah.
And hard work for England, and now, well, still with 2 full sessions left of the match, England are 7 wickets away from victory.
Yeah.
Broad bowls turned away by Brooks down towards fine leg. In comes Sam Curran, who we haven't seen with the ball yet. We're in the 11th over, so Broad's on a good spell here. You can understand it. One more over before lunch to take him to 6 for the spell. Brave captain to say, take a blow, Stuart. Look with Sam Curran or Don Best before lunch. 5 wickets in the match. And Broad yesterday, actually, he came back. There was a lot of talk about how disappointed he was, and it would inspire him. He was back 0 for 60 yesterday afternoon. Broad goes in and bowls close to off-stump. Good lead from Chase through to Butler.
World class. That's what people at world class do, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'll prove to you.
So Andy, yesterday he was what since he sort of got going yesterday. I mean, he must have taken about five for not very many. I would have thought 5 for about.
He took his 3 wickets yesterday in his last 4 overs for 2 runs.
So he's 5 for 19. Broad bowls to Chase outside the off stump. Chase allows it to go. Taken by Butler.
West Indies lost their last 6 for 45 yesterday, so first 3 for 23 today, so 9 wickets down for 68 runs in those 2 periods.
Yeah. And you feel, I mean, underline that point, if there is a partnership, you still feel it could happen again very quickly after a partnership.
Yeah. It's not like, because you know that partnership was played so well on the pitch. Sometimes when big partnerships develop, that there could be another one round the corner because of the surface.
Broad ball, stuck on the pad there. Chase, big shout for LBW, goes down the leg side. Given not out. And England are not seriously considering a review here.
Leg side.
Yeah. Mind you, they weren't that convinced by the John Campbell one, were they?
Unbelievable. Yeah. I tell you, who got that as well, and we keep raving about him, is Ben Stokes. Ben Stokes at second slip was absolutely convinced. He was walking towards the umpire, both hands up. Nothing from Butler, nothing from Root, and nothing from Broad, really, which is surprising.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show, doesn't it?
Broad to Chase. Chase, I think, holds the bat inside the line there as he leant forward. It's all about 5th stump. Allowed it to go through to Butler. When that happened, I had a look at Campbell's face, and just to see how guilty he just looked a fraction guilty. As if, I'm hoping to get away with this. Sometimes batsmen are very confident. I know I haven't hit that. And occasionally they're surprised to find they have, or at least the technology says they have.
There was a little tell. You're a very good poker player, so you saw his tell in him, did you?
Well, I haven't played poker ever, but there was a little tell there, I thought. Broad, last ball before lunch, struck on the pad, it goes ballooning away into the offside. Broad is imploring the umpire to give that out. He does not, Richard Illingworth. And Broad is having a chat with the slip cordon. And the time, they're going to review it. The timer's going down. And England have reviewed it.
TV umpire to director, we have a player review for LBW. The original decision is not out.
Massive nick.
And see the front foot first,
It
please.
didn't feel quite right for some
if he
reason.
hasn't hit it, it's out, I think. But I don't know whether
Thank you. Fair delivery. We can go on to front on spin vision, please.
Have they ever...
Here we go.
I think he's hit it massive. Oh no.
It's a bit high, isn't it?
Okay, I'm going to just need to see ultra edge, please.
Yeah, it's going to be probably umpire's call on missing.
Okay, keep it rolling through. Clearly no bat involved. We'll go to ball tracking when ready, please.
Yeah, not out.
Here we go. There's the ball tracking. Impact in line.
Pitching outside off, impacted and missing the wicket. Going to go back to Richard on field. Richard, save your original decision. You're on camera now.
Yeah, a bit of adrenaline in that review, I think, don't you? Just before lunch, desperation to get another one.
On a roll.
Yeah, the ball went ballooning away into the offside, which is often a good indication that the ball's going to be a bit high.
Yeah.
And you thought he hit it. It might well have been that he clipped his pad with his bat, but it just didn't feel quite right. Whereas that one that Wokes, when he pinned Brathwaite, he just, that's out. And I think everyone knew it, although that was umpire's call, top of middle stump. Yeah. But it was hitting the wicket according to technology and according to the umpire as well. Yeah. So there we go. 25 for 3. Great morning for England. Pretty much gone. Well, everything's just about gone their way this morning. And they are in a very good position to win this test match. There are still 74 overs left in the day's play. 74 overs to take. 7 more wickets to level the series. Broad 2 for 17 from 6 overs. Wokes 1 for 8 from 5 overs. England 129 for 3 declared. 11 overs this morning, 92 runs. Stokes 78 not out from 57 balls.
Sorry.
I'm keeping you up.
I'm sorry, I'm the cough.
Root was run out for 22. Stokes inadvertently running Root out, calling him through for a bye. I think we surprised Root. He didn't make his ground at the non-striker's end. And Pope was 12 not out. Even talking about things going England's way, that John Campbell drop catch early on. What was Stokes on at the time?
22, I think.
29.
29.
So he made
that's probably a 5 over sway.
well, he made another 48 from 34 balls after that drop.
Yeah.
And it was not that difficult. It was a boundary catch, but it was not that difficult, really. You'd expect them to take that.
Yeah. And as I said, that could be crucial as well, because it's just given England that little bit more time. Yeah, everything that could go their way has gone their way this morning.
Yeah, so 312 to win West Indies in 85 overs. And at lunch, well, I haven't written down the score, and I probably said it just now, but it's gone off every single scoreboard.
25 for 3.
25 for 3 is the score, so West Indies are way behind. And he's got more for us, and then Jonathan Agnew is going to come in.
Chris Woakes, one more wicket needed for 100 Test wickets. He's taken 74 of them in 20 home Test matches, and his average in England is 22.8 of the 32 England bowlers who've taken 50 or more wickets at home since 1965. Woakes' average in England is the best of any of them, narrowly ahead of Ken Higgs, who I think was a former coach of Aggers, and then
certainly
Bob Willis, and Bob Willis and Jimmy Anderson. So he has been terrific for England at home. If he, assuming he does reach 100 wickets, he will be the oldest seamer to reach 100 wickets since Devon Malcolm. Chris Woakes is 31 and 140 days, and he'll be the second oldest seamer to reach the 100 wicket mark for England since Trevor Bailey back in the 50s. So he's had a sort of long, slightly broken career in terms of selection, but closing in on the 100 wicket mark.
Lovely, thanks Andy. I think you have more than earned your lunch today, thank you. So that's exactly what it is. It is lunch here. 25 for 3, the West Indies, a shaky start, chasing 312 to win. They need another 287. Lots of time remaining for England to do so. Cloudy skies, the floodlights on, a bit of a chilly breeze blowing straight down the ground, if I'm honest. And we're assembling our journo panel as I speak. I never quite know how this is going to work, as you'll appreciate. It's all a bit different this year. Normally simply have people sitting here in the studio, and you can see them, and it's all very straightforward. But of course, we're limited as to the number of people we can have in the commentary box. Stefan Shevels here, because he's in our particular broadcaster's bubble, and little does he realise, but he's there predominantly because everything goes wrong when I'm trying to make contact with the others. I'm not even sure where they are, but I'll tell you who they are, and then we'll take it from that. We've got Futushane Hantaraja from The Independent somewhere, and Nick Holt, cricket correspondent of The Telegraph, equally somewhere. And I can now see you on the screen. Nick, I can see you waving. Fish, you're waving as well. Have you spotted them?
Far left, Nick is, I think.
Far left. Where are you?
Right,
Nick,
yep.
you start. Go on, Nick, how are
left,
you?
Yep. Good, how are you doing? Hello from the other side.
Okay, yes. Well, I still didn't see you, actually. I might have more chance with Fish, because he's wearing a very orange top. Fish, give us a wave.
I've got my binoculars out.
Where is he? What level are you on?
We're on the top floor.
Reflection. Oh, top, you're up there. Oh,
We're on the
I've
top
got you.
floor, and as you look, I'm
got
on the
you.
far left. So we're in the executive boxes.
Indeed. Well, what do you make? Isn't it all a bit strange? I mean, we've talked about our bubble a lot, obviously, and the bubbles are all moving and are different. Actually, I must be honest. We felt a little less air in our bubble here at Old Trafford, as was the case down at the Ageas Bowl. How are you getting on, Vish? How are you finding this whole business of? Well, describe your setting first of all up there.
Well, so the way we're set up, as Holty said, we're two journos to a box, really. So I'm lucky enough to be.
Oop, I didn't hear who you said there. We've got a dodgy line to you, Vish. You can give it a go again, but we're relying so much on Wi-Fi here. Vish is out. He might do a bit of a redial. Okay, let's try. It's funny. I can see the look of bewilderment on their faces down there. Well, there's nothing they can do. Nick, is your Wi-Fi any better? Describe who you're with.
I'm sat with Rory Dollard from Press Association, so two of us per box.
Right.
The lady brings our meals to us around the back. We're allowed to go home in the evening, or not home, but back to an apartment or hotel or wherever we're staying. So we have an element of freedom that you guys don't have.
Yeah, and I mean, but could you go home if you wanted to?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you lived close enough, you could commute. The ECB were trying to encourage us not to stay in hotels and try and limit our risk, obviously, as much as possible. So most of us have hired apartments. I'm staying in Chorlton, just down the road, and so could walk in every day if I wanted to. And yeah, we've been looked after very, very well. It's all worked fine. We have obviously no contact with any players or officials, so that's why they're a little bit more relaxed with the rules for us than they are for you guys.
Vish, you're back with us. You're back in the room.
I am, yes. Yeah,
Okay.
sorry about that.
No, it's not your fault. It's just it's the way it's going. So describe your setup then. Who are you penned up with?
So I'm penned up with the Times and Sunday Times' very own Simon Wilde. I'm very lucky, to be honest. Yeah, well, he's a fountain of knowledge anyway, and thankfully he's got exceptionally good personal hygiene as well. So it's been a thoroughly pleasant 5 days. Yeah,
It's like the old days of rooming together on tour, isn't it? When you'll get to know each other very well as a result. And so you are sort of sealed away in there. Oh, so, but your sealing is different to ours in that you're sealed away from everyone, and so I can't come and see you, which is a shame. But can you drive into the ground and so on, Nick? Is that how you get in? Well, you're a runner.
Absolutely.
You probably run.
I'll probably run, obviously, run here and run home. But no, we're allowed to drive in. It's a real luxury for us, actually. We can just park up pretty much outside the front door of the pavilion and walk straight into the media, the temporary media centre. So yeah, it's very easy. We've actually just had the tensest moment of the Test match, which is the draw of lots for who's sitting with who for the next Test match. So that was all organised by Dean Wilson, and we all had to draw a number out of a hat to see who the partner is for the next Test match.
Right, has it been revealed yet?
Yes, it has. It came over. The pairings came over one by one on WhatsApp, and I'm paired with Dean Wilson actually.
Right, okay.
And so it was very tense. None of us were watching the action. Actually, we were just waiting to see who we were going to be sitting with next week.
It's vital. 5 days locked up together. And how are you finding, Vish? How are you finding actually covering the game? We all know what Nick's like. Normally he's ferreting around, looking for news stories. He's here, there. He's all over the ground. He and Dean will set off on their little lap. They go, there they go. They're off trying to stir up some trouble for the rest of us. That's what you can't do that anymore, can you?
Yeah, well, that makes it a lot easier for the rest of us because we're not suddenly chasing after his stories as well. So no, it's. To be honest, we probably have the best of it from everyone here, considering that we're being really well looked after with food and stuff like that, and we have the luxury of coming and going. So yeah, to be honest, in terms of covering it, it hasn't really changed much at all. To be honest, we've got the best seat in the house up here as we at the GSBL we'll kind of square on about, I suppose, cover a mid-wicket area, so probably a little bit harder to watch the action. But to be honest, I've not really been too much of a difference at all, actually. And you know what? I'd actually say Zoom press conferences are better than normal press conferences because more often than not, we've got to run around to the other side of the ground. And as someone who very much pushes his filing after the last ball, it's very welcome. Sometimes I've been in press conferences on these Zoom calls and I'm still filing away. So, to be honest, beyond no crowd, which is a bit of a shame, I'm quite liking it, actually.
Right. Of all the things that have changed, could you see those Zoom press conferences being something that actually might continue, Nick? Because certainly, as far as the infrastructure and getting people here and there and everywhere is concerned, it's probably more straightforward for everybody, including the player involved.
I hope not, because I think you do want to see people in person if you can. I noticed the biggest difference actually is on the preview days. We're not actually allowed on site until the morning of the game, so it's very hard to get a feel for the team or for any changes that are going to be made. Because normally we would turn up 2 days before the Test match, we'd watch nets, and you would have a chat with a few people, and you'd probably get an idea of team changes. So things like that have gone. We're very distant from everybody. I can see the Zoom press conferences continuing, for example, when you have a sit-down interview with Joe Root in Sheffield and we're all at home, and in the past we would have jumped in a car on a train to go and do them in person. I suspect those will be done on Zoom in future, like there will be for most people in life. Those sort of meetings can be done distantly, but yeah, it's those preview days that feel very different, and you do miss that sort of being able to see people face to face.
Yes. Let's talk obviously about the biggest story of the week, which was involving Jofra Archer nipping home between Southampton and here. What was your take on that? Let's start with you, Vish. I mean, were you surprised when you heard it? Was it like inevitable, maybe, that one or two players or whatever might try and get home in the meantime?
You know what? I was surprised, but I think I was surprised that an England player, having had all the rules outlined to them, having had to go through what they've had to go through to get into this entire situation, I was surprised that someone would be stupid enough to break it. I think what is quite important to, when we're talking about this Jofra Archer situation, is that there's only the details we have are the details that we've been given, if you know what I mean. So it sounds like he didn't think it was a problem whatsoever. It also sounds like England found out because he was talking about it relatively openly, and therefore I think that kind of sums up the fact that he didn't really think it was necessarily a big deal. But I mean, it's a very silly thing to do, and the fact that the consequences, say, didn't dawn on him until it was revealed reflects more on Archer than it does on England and the information the players were given. Yeah.
How about you, Nick?
I think he's been quite fortunate. Yesterday there was a passage of play, wasn't there, where England really needed Archer to beat his pace to blow a hole through the West Indies in the end, and that's why we saw Ben Stokes bowling 57 bouncers in his spell. And I think if England hadn't have broken through with a second new ball, I think there would have been a lot of questions about the effect that Archer had on the result of this game. It's clear that he obviously didn't really understand the consequences of what he did. Was there a problem with the messaging? You would have thought so, given that we're given 75-page booklets of do's and don'ts, and we're just guys on the outer zone. So you just hope that he's learned from this. His apology in the statement suggests that he really did realise, and perhaps he can just look at Ben Stokes, somebody who's made mistakes in the past and has learned from them and become much stronger for them. So, yeah, he was fortunate that England broke through yesterday, and probably fortunate that he wasn't actually suspended for a test match.
Yes, it seemed to me, if I'm honest on that front, that I think they got it about right, because Stefan, he's sitting next to me. We're in the same hotel, and just to be actually locked into one of those rooms, Stefan, for 5 days. And from the room that Archer had, where he actually watched the cricket going on. I mean, it's like a kid being sent to his bedroom on his birthday and missing his party.
There's not much space for a tall, fast bowler in those bedrooms.
There's not. They are small rooms, and apart from your telly, and presumably he's got his computer and so on in there. Well, you can't even stretch on the balcony, could you? I mean, you couldn't even roll a Pilates mat out and do any of that. I mean, that's pretty tough in there.
Yeah, and we were told it was going to be 5 days of isolation, and that was relaxed yesterday when we saw Archer in the nets having a few overs, and we were told that before that he'd been running around the ground at 7 o'clock in the morning. I think the thing to understand is that Archer probably wasn't punished actually for missing the test match. That wasn't a punishment in itself. As soon as he'd gone home, he was always going to have to serve those 5 days of isolation. It just so happened that they coincided with the duration of the match, and so his actual punishment is the fine and the reprimand.
I can see him bowling in the nets actually at the moment, so they've let him out to go and do that, which is good.
Yeah, and I think maybe that would have been taken into consideration when England did have the disciplinary hearing on Friday night. There was already the disappointment that he'd missed out on a test cap. Probably a bit of embarrassment, really, that of all the players that had been subjected to the bubble conditions, he was the one who'd gone and broken it, and how public that was. And there's probably further knock-on consequences as well, because England have obviously got a plan for resting and rotating their fast bowlers, and it might have been that this was Archer's turn to play. And in the next match, when he wasn't due to play, he's going to sit out anyway, because we've seen how well Stuart Broad's bowled. Maybe Chris Wokes and Sam Curran will take them to victory this afternoon. And James Anderson and Mark Wood are already resting, and they'll be raring to go come Friday. So maybe England will think, well, this was your game to play. You were pegged to play in the second test. You weren't going to play in the third one anyway. And there are other
fair on the others. You aren't going to play in that
exactly.
One. Yeah.
So that might be a situation. Archer might just end up missing 2 rather than 1.
It's very interesting, Vish and Nick, because we see, and we are experiencing ourselves in that bubble, how tight it is, and the players' bubble is tighter than ours. I mean, we are allowed to go home tonight and come back before the game. They are not, and they have been in that situation since the first week in June. And you think of the players who've got young children, and you think about those young children actually who see their dad playing on the telly. In James Anderson's case, about 2 miles away. Do you have any concerns about the impact of what living like that actually is on the families and the stresses and strains that there are? Nick, you go.
Of course, yeah. I know that people say, well, these guys go on tour, but it's different when you're on tour because you know you can't go home when you're in South Africa. But when you're just down the road, it's tantalisingly close. And it must be hard for them to live like this. And also, the rest of the country is easing up, is getting back to normal. In some respects, but they are living in this very, very tight biosecure world. It's probably the most biosecure part of Britain at the moment, in the way that they're being treated and the way that they're living. So it must be very difficult. I hope that they will be allowed home between Test series. On Saturday, it sounded as if they were putting together guidelines to put to government to get approval for the guys to go home for 3 or 4 days. If not, they're going to have to spend all that time here waiting for Test match to start on August the 5th.
Yeah. Fish, what's your view of all that?
Well, you know what? I thought you were going to throw me the question first, and I was going to immediately palm it off to Holty because Holty, you have kids, so you know what it'd be like to go for time without them. Yeah, I think that's what compounds the Archer thing a bit more in terms of his fault, because he's there with players like Joe Root, who's just had a kid. He's also there with, there are a couple of members of staff. There's one in particular, Danny Rubin, whose wife is at the ground working for Sky, who he is in a separate bubble to. I think if you needed evidence as to how difficult this is for everyone, it's right there in front of you. It's in the bloke next to you. It's in the bloke who's trying to kite you around to do interviews here and there. But yeah, I do think there was an element of this that was always going to be a little bit unsustainable, and they were always sacrificing more to get these games on. And it will be interesting to see, actually, that, as Holty alluded to, with so much of the country getting back to quote-unquote normal, the ECB are kind of almost beholden to this setup to a point, aren't they? So getting them home between Test series, rather, seems to be the only way really that they can manage this and I suppose create a better environment for the players mentally as well.
Are you feeling that it's really to make sure that Australia get here for those 6 matches, if they are 3 T20 and 3 50 overs, that's got to be confirmed, but that everything is being done really to absolutely make sure that nothing possibly derails the visit here of Australia?
Well, yeah, that's Sorry, Holty.
No, you go. Sorry.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's already kind of a situation emerging with the England women overnight that they hope to have a tri-series with India and South Africa, that it sounds like India are coming and that it'll only be South Africa. So that ultimately, I suppose, be the first casualty in terms of what they thought they were going to be able to put on in these biosecure environments. So that in itself is quite obviously a huge blow because of the market that India would have brought, even, especially with the women's game. So yeah, it does seem to be the case that they kind of, Australia is in the various different states or in varying degrees of lockdown as well. So yeah, that would be the main thing for them at this point, to be able to get to that series at the end of the summer towards October and get that on, because that's just another big moneymaker, isn't it?
Yeah.
Since both boards,
I think. Nick, did you manage to find some speculative dates for Australia?
Yeah, it was actually from the Australian press that it's I think the 4th to the 15th of September, 3 T20s and 3 ODIs. There is a willingness from both boards to get that series on. The Australians want to come over here, so unless there's direction from the Australian government for them not to travel, then I expect that series to go ahead, which would be remarkable because the ECB have got away all of their international cricket this summer,
yes.
and And it looks like we're going to see some county cricket as well. A bit of confusion whether there'll be any crowds allowed to see those games. But to get the whole of the international summer away from where we were a few weeks ago would be a remarkable achievement for them, and obviously save a lot of money.
Steph, what do you alluded to the selection for the next Test match and what might or might not happen? It's an absolute triumph this for Stuart Broad. I mean, it's one thing for us to say, why on earth didn't they play Stuart Broad? Look at these conditions and everything else. But when Stuart Broad himself says, why on earth didn't they pick me? More or less, it's a disgrace. I deserve to play. You're putting a lot of pressure on yourself. And what does he do? He gets 3 for 1. He's got 2 in the second innings. Pretty remarkable, isn't it?
He spoke really interestingly in his press conference last night, and he was comparing being left out in the first Test match of this series to when he was left out in the first Test match of the last time England played the West Indies. I think that was in Barbados.
Yeah.
And he said when he came back from that, he really felt like he had a point to prove, because he was just in the middle of remodelling his run-up, trying to change the way that he was bowling. Whereas this time, he said, I've got 18 months, a year of real success behind me. He knew that he was second in the list of Test wicket takers behind Pat Cummins over the past 12 months. So he said that I knew I was going to get my opportunity, and I didn't feel like I had anything to prove. I knew I was in a good place to come back and bowl, well, potentially, just the way that he did last night. And then he even went so far to say that, well, I'm doing this now, I'm bowling this well, I've shown that I can keep doing it. Why can't I go and play as long as James Anderson until I'm 38 and take another 130 Test wickets? So, there we were last week. Stuart Broad had been left out in what we thought maybe England thought was now their first choice attack of Wood, Archer and Anderson. We're wondering, is this the beginning of the end for Stuart Broad? And he says, no, I'm thinking I could play maybe as long as Jimmy.
Yeah, it's funny because selectors get rotation, players don't really get rotation. Players want to play, and even if they've played 2 or 3 games on the trot, it doesn't matter. It's a cap, you just want to play, don't you?
Absolutely, of course. Broad revels in this position, doesn't he? Of enjoying proving a point. But I think England have moved away now from picking the 2 of them together, so they're going to face a difficult decision in the next few days. Does Anderson come back? Does Broad stay in the team? I'm sure Broad will have to stay in the team now, obviously, the way it's bowled in this game. But those stats are impressive. You talk about his form in the last year or two. But we haven't seen one of those golden runs from Stuart since South Africa Test match in Joburg in 2016. Is he still England? Is he still a strike bowler that's going to run through teams and bowling them to victory, or does he need the Archers and the Woods around him now to do that as well? So he's just getting used, adapting to a new position in the team, a new place in the pecking order, and that's going to continue the whole summer. We've got a strange summer with us as well. Anyway, we're playing so many Test matches, such a very short period of time because of the COVID situation. Players are always going to be rotated out of the team, and what strength in depth England have, and that's probably going to be the difference between the 2 sides in this series. The West Indies had to pick their weary first choice attack from the last Test. England had the option of bringing in Wokes and Broad, 2 brilliant bowlers in English conditions, and they could change the whole attack for the next Test and probably be just as strong or even stronger. So it's just the changing times, really.
Life in the old dog, Vish. He'll keep going for a while.
Yeah, I mean, whatever I say, he'll just, if I said he was on his way out, then he'll maybe eat my word in 30 minutes time. Yeah, I think there's life in Stuart Broad, as we saw yesterday afternoon. But I do think it will come from an adaptation of roles. Holty mentioned there that we haven't really seen him really run through a side, and you do wonder if actually that is a sign of, I don't want to say diminishing fitness, but ultimately the reason he was able to do all that and not say just have the 3 wickets that he did yesterday, but have a period of 6 or 5 or 6, is because he was able to kind of maintain that speed and harness that energy for longer.